For many years, the Rat Pack's charm and aura have captivated the sector, but behind the glitz and glamour, there are memories yet to be informed. Now, Ernest Borgnine, considered one of Hollywood's maximum-loved icons, has determined to interrupt his silence on the enigmatic Dean Martin. What became Martin honestly like behind the suave personality? Were there secrets best Borgnine knew? Prepare to uncover the untold truths about a friendship that formed an era of Hollywood like no other. This revelation promises to change the whole idea you knew about the King of Cool. Firstly, let us speak about Ernest Borgnine and Dean Martin's courting. Borgnine is a high-quality actor. He's at the set of From Here to Eternity, this epic movie, and he's probably wondering, that is going to be a musical because Frank Sinatra is in it. Anyway, he runs into Dean Martin throughout filming, and this come across, it sticks with him for all time. Borgnine says, "I'm taking walks off the set," and Dean Martin comes on level and says to the target audience, "Now there may be an actor." Right then and there, it hits him. This wasn't just some random compliment. Dean intended it. Now permits rewind a bit. Who turned into this Dean Martin guy besides? Born Dino Palucci, this child from Ohio, had a hard start. He became talking Italian at home, then suffering to research English in faculty. He even dropped out. Can you consider it? But every so often, the pleasant testimonies come from folks who damaged the guidelines. He attempted the whole lot, boxing, bootlegging, you name it. He even called himself Kid Crochet inside the boxing ring. Finally, he finds his groove in music. He begins singing, gets noticed, and he is on his way. But then World War II hits. He receives drafted, happily gets discharged early, and returned into show commercial enterprise, and that's in which Jerry Lewis comes in. Dean Martin, this easy operator, meets Jerry Lewis, the wild card comedian. They meet at a nightclub and sparks fly. They grow to be this iconic duo, and the relaxation, as they say, is history. Moving on, Dean and Jerry, this dynamic duo, teamed up for a musical comedy display. Dean, the smooth singer, and Jerry, the master of physical comedy. They were like fireplace and ice, a super fit. Their debut at the 500 Club in Atlantic City was, well, it wasn't exactly a standing ovation. The target market regarded greater careworn than amused. The membership owner, this man named Skinny D'Amato, essentially threatened to kick them out in the event that they did not step up their game. But these guys had been resilient. They went, returned to the drawing board, and boy, did they arrive again with a bang. Their subsequent show was pure magic. Jerry might interrupt Dean mid-song, sending him into a hilarious chase across the stage. Then there was this bit in which Jerry, dressed as an inept waiter, could crash Dean's performance, dropping plates and typically wreaking havoc. The target market went wild. Their popularity exploded. Soon they have been the talk of the metropolis, even landing a gap on the Ed Sullivan Show. They knew they had to take things to the following level, so that they employed some top-notch writers to help them craft their act. Things had been searching up. They signed a money-making radio deal with Paramount, raking in $75,000, a fortune back then. But fulfillment wasn't without its demanding situations. Dean and Jerry commenced to butt heads. Dean felt like Jerry became overshadowing him, that the focus became an excessive amount of on the slapstick and no longer enough at the song. He wanted to explore special avenues, but their settlement with Paramount essentially tied their palms. And it truly is in which things truly took a turn for the worse. The tale became a completely pathetic one. Just consider you're on level, along with your exceptional buddy. The crowds are going wild, after which, poof, your face receives erased from the quilt of a magazine. That's essentially what passed off to Dean Martin and his comedy accomplice, Jerry Lewis. See, those two were a dynamic duo, however their friendship took a critical hit when Dean felt completely snubbed through Jerry. It all went down in 1954. After they did this crazy, over-the-pencil, three-ring circus act, they even were given a mag unfold, but wager who became mysteriously lacking from the picture. Dean. Pissed off, Dean decided he'd had enough. No extra Paramount, no greater Jerry, he declared, and while his agreement subsequently expired, he hightailed it out of there. Now anybody notion Dean changed into going to crash and burn. He's nothing without Jerry. They scoffed. But Dean, bless his heart, proved them all incorrect. He went solo, specializing in his singing profession, and boy, may one too he sing. That's amore. Memories are made from this. Everybody loves someone. Those tunes were widespread. But Dean wasn't content to be a crooner. He wanted to behave, to be a movie star. He attempted, oh how he attempted. But shall we embrace his early performing career turned into a bit of a combined bag? Tornillo Leboeuf, The Young Lions in 1958. This battle movie became a success, and Dean became lower back within the highlight. He turned into rubbing shoulders with Hollywood royalty, John Wayne, Ricky Nelson, the whole shebang. He even got nominated for a Golden Globe. From then on, Dean turned into on fire. He starred in lots of movies and even produced a few himself. He had become a legend, a real icon. And permits no longer forget about the Rat Pack. Dean, Frank Sinatra, Sammy Davis Jr. These men were the remaining party animals. They sang, they joked, and they charmed their manner through each show. Vegas in no way saw anything love it. Sooner the Dean Martin display came on board. Think of it as the closing chilled TV display. Dean, searching results easily clever in a tux, would banter with visitors, make some off-coloration jokes, some may say a few too many, and generally have a terrific time. It became a massive hit, even though the censors at NBC have been constantly on his case. Off display screen, Dean changed into a committed circle of relatives man in spite of his Playboy picture. He loved his spouse and children, and even as he portrayed himself as a chunk of a boozer on TV, his friends say he wasn't without a doubt the tons of a drinker. Years later, Dean and Jerry in the end buried the hatchet, and it had become a touching moment for them. Things went easily after that until something tragic happened to Dean. In March 1987, Bad Dean Martin, the crooner, lost his son, Dean Paul, in a plane crash. It became an actual tragedy, flying with the Air National Guard and the whole lot. And it hit Dean hard. He certainly spiraled, fell right into a deep despair, and became to the bottle for consolation. Frank Sinatra, a terrific friend of his, attempted to cheer him up through taking him on tour. However, it was like trying to place out a hearth with gas. Dean turned into glued to his bottle, and that cigarette by no means left his lips. And speaking of cigarettes, the one's years of chain smoking finally caught up with him. In 1993, they instructed him he had most cancers. Surgery became an alternative. However, Dean, along with his cussed coronary heart, wasn't having it. He retreated from the highlight, hung out along with his circle of relatives, and simply dwindled away. Sadly, he passed away on Christmas Day, 1995 at 78. The complete global mourned the lack of this legend. Even the Las Vegas Strip dimmed its lighting fixtures in his honor. From a child who dropped out of faculty to a worldwide icon, he stopped the adventure. Now that we have discussed who Dean Martin turned into, allows talk about what took place between him and Borgnine. Borgnine, in his own words, gave us a glimpse into their friendship, displaying us a side of Dean that went way beyond the artful image and the rat-packed swagger. It seems that Dino turned into a real pal, a loyal guy who became extra than just a pretty face. Now allow speak approximately Ernie. This guy, born Hermes Ephron Borgnine, had a pretty humble beginning. He grew up in a running-class circle of relatives in Connecticut, the son of Italian immigrants. After high faculty, he did what any purple-blooded American could do. He joined the Navy. And whilst 1-2 hit, he'd become right lower back in uniform, serving his USA. After the conflict, Ernie'd become misplaced, and he was no longer sure what to do with his lifestyles. Ernest Borgnine wasn't exactly cut out for manufacturing unit paintings. It failed to take him long to comprehend that. Lucky for him, his mother had a sharper eye for his skills. One day she informed him, "You are always creating an idiot of yourself in front of human beings. Why now not receives a commission for it?" Most kids would roll their eyes, but Ernest, he had an epiphany. Sitting on the kitchen desk, he suddenly felt like a mild bulb went off in his head, and 10 years later, he were given his begin on the Randall School of Drama in Hartford, then joined the Barter Theater in Virginia. This area turned into a gem. It permit humans change things like apples and eggs for tickets again at some stage in the Great Depression. His first role came in 1947 with State of the Union. It wasn't a huge component. However, the target market loved him. He saved the momentum going with The Glass Menagerie by means of Tennessee Williams, gambling the gentleman caller and proving he ought to deliver the drama. By 1949, he changed into Geared Up for the Big Apple. He made his Broadway debut in Harvey as a nurse of all matters, and then came TV. His first gig became on Captain Video, and his video, Rangers. It sounds campy, proper, but it opened the floodgates. He popped up everywhere. Goodyear Television Playhouse, Laramie, Fireside Theater, you name it, he changed into On It. Hollywood came calling soon enough. And he got his first movie role in The Whistle at Eaton Falls in 1951. But his huge wreck? Playing the nasty Sergeant Fatso Judson in From Here to Eternity. Critics raved that the movie won Best Picture, and Ernest changed into formally on the map. Now, Borgnine wasn't afraid to play the horrific guy. He had a string of villain roles in films like Johnny Guitar and Vera Cruz, but 1955 was his IR. He starred in Marty as a shy, cute butcher, and the sector fell in love with him. The movie wiped clean up at Cannes, and Borgnine beat out heavyweights like Frank Sinatra and James Dean for the Oscar. He even took home a Golden Globe and a BAFTA. Talk about a glow-up from his Captain Video days. Then got here TV stardom. In 1962, he signed on for McHale's Navy, a World War II sitcom, approximately a ragtag team of troublemakers. Ernest played Quentin McHale, the gruff, however lovely skipper who by some means controlled to keep his misfit group in line. The display changed into an immediate hit, touchdown inside the top 30 in its first season. Fans adored him, and he even snagged an Emmy nomination. But after 4 seasons, the comic story commenced feeling a bit stale, and the display led to 1966. Borgnine's career failed to gradual down, although over the next 3 decades he became anywhere. He took on big display roles inside The Dirty Dozen, The Poseidon Adventure, and Escape from New York. He even performed Dutch in The Wild Bunch, a western that packed a ethical punch. Borgnine later said every picture should have a moral. Back in the day, the awful men usually were given what became coming to them. Now looks as if they are walking the display. Preacher, Ernie, and TV. Oh, he ruled that too. Little House on the Prairie, Magnum, P.I., The Love Boat, Touched with the Aid of an Angel. You couldn't turn via channels without seeing his face. After that, Borgnine became Hollywood's cross-2 man for, well, the whole lot. Westerns, dramas, comedies, you name it, he nailed it. Even in his later years, he kept working, displaying up inside the final episodes of ER like the absolute legend he become. Ernest Borgnine's career turned into not anything quick of mythical, and he never appeared to slow down. In 1983, he turned into Again at Universal Studios, co-starring with Jan Michael Vincent within the hit TV show Airwolf. Producer Donald P. Belisario, in my view, invited him after seeing him wrestle in a 1982 episode of Magnum. P.I. Borgnine, without delay, stated yes and took on the function of Dominic Santini, a lovable helicopter pilot. The show became a massive achievement. However, behind the scenes, Borgnine became running himself to the bone. The grueling schedule and wrangling, together with his younger co-celebrity, should have exhausted all of us. CBS pulled the plug on the display in 1986, giving Borgnine a well-deserved wreck. Or so you'd think. Fast forward to 1989, even though it didn't bring home any Oscars. By 1995, he'd become lower back on TV in The Single Guy, playing Manny Cordoba, the arena's most lovely doorman. Co-name name Jonathan Silverman joked that Borgnine had more energy than the whole solid blended. First on set, last to go away, and probable cracking jokes in among takes. In 1996, Borgnine showed his adventurous facet in Merlin's Shop of Mystical Wonders. In this quirky myth film, he narrated a tale approximately a curse image-banging monkey toy stolen from Merlin. Yes, clearly. The film did not take off at first, but finally won a cult following after being hilariously roasted on Mystery Science Theater 3000. Once, after 3 hours or less roasts, suddenly killed his wife and taken a grenade before diving into a monkey hole. Then he took out a fast bite and raced away at the rate of Mystery Science Theater 3000. That equaled 12 months. Borgnine hopped on a bus and toured the U.S. to meet lovers and notice the USA. His adventure have become the difficulty of a 1997 documentary, Ernest Borgnine at the Bus. Oh, and in among all this, he determined time to go to VA hospitals as part of the National Salute to Hospitalized Veterans.